Welcome to Book World, the space where stories do not just entertain, they empower. I am your host, Andrea Torhee. And today's episode is not a tale of pity, but a celebration of power, creativity, and perspective. Our guest is a fierce advocate, a poet and author, using words not just as art, but as activism. Through her books, Odyssey of a Bleeding Rose, Stolen Renaissance, and Benevolent Start, she offers us windows into a world shaped by resilience and rooted in truth. She is also the founder of the Special Physically Challenged Care Foundation, championing inclusion and access for persons with disabilities across Nigeria. Today, we're talking about how disability informs but never limits. The creative voice. What does it mean to write from the margins? How do we move from inspiration to visibility? Join me and welcome Shamsiyyah Umar. Hi, Shamsiyyah.
Hi, Andrea.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, let's start with the title, Odyssey of a Bleeding Rose. What informed that title for you? What inspired you to name or title the book?
Okay, first of all, we know that rose is a very beautiful thing, but once you don't take care of it, it dies down. But
True.
in the process of it being disparting from its blossoms, when you water it back, it's become something really beautiful. So, Odyssey of the Bleeding Rose is a lived experience novel about a girl called Mimi, a resilient girl called Mimi, who went through loss, trauma, recovery, and she became the voice of people, not just people with disabilities, but others. So I would say it's a lived experience because we believe that when you water something that is bleeding,
Yes.
it can come back to life.
That's true. That's true. So, can you give us like an in-depth understanding of who Mimi is in the book?
Mimi is a young girl who became a physically challenged person at a tender age from an accident. We could walk through the book from the beginning where you saw that she had a very beautiful family. She had a future ahead of her.
Yeah.
But then the accident cut everything in between. It changed her life. And because of the societal prejudice and also the stigma, Mimi almost lost herself in between that. But she was able to come out of it resilient, and she advanced to someone great. She became an advocate. She became an author, and a whole lot written. So that's what Mimi's story is all about. Just generally how the society treats a person. But then when you leave the society, let the society live on you, you would fail.
Yes.
So it's not for you to live in the society with your vision, with the power you have within you, and change the narrative for good.
True. That's so true. And you said something about a shared experience with or a lived experience.
Lived experience.
So can you say that Mimi's story resonates with yours per se? And given the theme of resilience, is that what you share with Mimi in the story?
So Mimi is a case study of my life. I don't want to say Mimi is a case study, but I have to say it now. Yeah, so I picked Mimi's story from my own personal story.
Okay.
As a person growing up with a disability and how I got the disability. But obviously, you know how we writers can be. There's always a twist. So when you read the book, it's not entirely my life story.
Yeah.
But I would say I took the inspiration from myself.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting to know. But then you are an author. You also have a foundation, SPEC for short, right?
Yes.
So tell us, what inspired you to go into writing outside being a poet and leading this foundation?
Surprisingly, my story is not always about all glitters that is gold.
Okay.
It started from a confusion. Yeah. a confusion because I grew up not having any form of disability. Trust me, at my teenage, growing up, this enthusiastic young lady who has all things planned out. I was always really smart when I was small. So I used to jot down a lot. Oh, I want to be this, I want to be that. But after that accident I had, I was juggling through, oh, I want to study English literature in university. Oh, I want to be a political scientist. Oh, I want to be a lawyer. So it was a lot of what I want to be in future in between. So that's how I started writing for me.
Wow.
And I found peace jotting down my emotions then, because I am not someone who really opens up to people, though I'm a bit changed now. But then I just saw that my family were suffering a lot from what happened to me, especially my mom. She never forgave herself for what happened to me. And so I decided to just find writing. And for the foundation, obviously, it's also from what I have encountered over time. But I always say my inspiration is someone who I met in school,
Okay.
who was a visually impaired person, and he was also on wheelchair. So the days I would suffer from inaccessibility of our halls, the places we have to walk to, when I see him, I just get this energy to keep going. So that's why I started the foundation, just to create awareness about how we are struggling within us persons with disabilities.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you talk about creating stories about, how you're struggling, the persons with disabilities and all, what are some of the barriers that you face when it comes to telling your stories, when it comes to telling stories about persons with disabilities, both social and physical barriers? What are those challenges that you come across, and how do you overcome them? How do you face them?
For one, as a writer, socially, I think I face this barrier of people think that my writing is just about disability rights advocacy. But when you read my poetry book, it's all about love.
Wow.
So because there's this perception people have about me out there, oh, she's bringing disability. Yeah, and because Odyssey is about that, my second book is also about love. So people do not really understand where my focus is on my writing. They feel it's just on that side. And for physical barriers, I would say in terms of having your own community as a writer.
Oh.
Yeah. Attending book reviews, even open mic events is sometimes really hard on me. Trust me, these days I do not even attend because one, in terms of transportation, the timing, the venue, some of the venues are not even accessible for us to go in. So it limits sometimes our passion to engage in this certain community that we feel, okay, we have community of writers. And how I overcome them is I always show up. I always show up, even as difficult as it is. I used to show up. I think the reason why I stopped is because I feel I have this community I can rely on at the moment, right? So I don't keep pushing myself out there. I believe the community I have are strong enough. There are people that I can trust to put my words out there.
Sure. That's so good, and it's such an important thing to have a community that supports you, to have a support system that is working, that is strong enough. And I know that there might be physical challenges like the timing, transportation and otherwise, but having that community, I'm sure, helps you overcome most of these challenges.
Definitely.
Right? Now, when you talk about writing from the margins, what do you really mean by that? Can you elaborate on that?
It's, for me, I would say it's critical thinking. There's a state you keep yourself. Mine is absolute silence. And when I'm hurting, I pick up a book and I write, or I pick up my phone and I jot things, right? So everybody has this space and time to get their inspiration from, it's clicks, right? For me, is when I'm hurting. And I used to say it till date, like I always find this time that I am in this extreme pain, whether physical or emotional pain. And instead of me to rely on, oh, I am hot, oh, I want to be numb, lock myself in the room, I do things that when I'm out of that phase, I'm like, oh, there's something good that actually came out of that. So for me, that's what it is.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you work as foundation leader, now I always say foundation leader because I believe, you have people who are working with you and you're leading the team. At SPEC, how do you intersect your activities as an advocate and as a writer? Do the things you do or the activities you do in SPEC, or the projects you carry out in SPEC, do they go hand in hand with your writing? And how do you also, because I believe you're leading other people with disabilities, especially children.
Yeah.
So how do you help them to grow in their writing phase, especially?
So one thing about leading is you do it so good when you enjoy what you do. And what I enjoy doing is the intersection between arts and any other thing I do, because I find peace with art and writing and poem. So in terms of our activities, for example, now recently we're running a project called Disability Tech Bootcamp. Okay. It's supposed to be solely a tech project, but then we incorporated life skills where we brought in mental health as a means of advocacy. So we want the students with disabilities to understand how they feel within the society, that they belong to the society. Because trust me, growing from a very tender age, having a disability was hard on me. So I didn't want them to have that experience I had. So how does the art now come in? In terms of dealing with your mental stress, we introduced the art of painting to them, origami, movements. We introduced book reading because one of our facilitators is also an author.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay. So she wrote a book about mental health. So she used her experience as a mental health activist to educate these children in journaling, book writing, paintings, etc. So that's how I intersect that into the work I do.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I'm sure the children would absolutely love it. They have fun all the time.
It's their favorite part.
Oh, that's great. Because I know that children, they just don't want maths and English and science. They want to have a feel of the artistic sides of things as well. And most of them are talented. Yeah. So I'm sure, do you have any writers who are part of the foundation, the children especially? Do you have anyone who you've been grooming after coming up?
Yeah, so far, we finished 2 schools. Oh. And after finishing the school, we have success stories of the students, right? The day we left, one wrote us a whole letter about how she enjoyed the session. It was mainly, and when we spoke to her after that, it was mainly her exercising her writing skills, and she wanted us to see and tell her how she can improve on that. And then we did. So it's very, very exciting for us that we've trained the students so far, and this is what their focus is in life. We had a career day, and most of them, because of the way they saw the artist, the painter, and her name was very funny to them. It was Ice Block, but in a different language, in Hausa. So everybody I want to be an artist. Because she shared some of her work with them. I want to be an artist. So for us, we feel we've actually helped the students to have a focus in life, what they want to do. So, it's far beyond, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a lawyer, right? We opened the beauty of art to them. So we're so glad that they embraced it the way we wanted.
That's wonderful. Now, speaking of art and poems, can you give us just a little piece from your archives?
Okay. So because we are speaking about Odyssey of a Bleeding Rose, there was a poem I wrote about the book, just a draft. So
lovely.
It goes this way. Dear Bleeding Rose, I kept you for 10 years, nurturing you, watering you to the extent I became a gardener. I cleaned the vase I kept you until it sparkled. I wanted you to grow and blossom into a beautiful flower tree so that I can stare at you, so that you can give me the breeze on my face to feel the warmth of the world. But then how could you? And I asked because instead of you becoming a beautiful flower, you became a bleeding rose. Thank you.
Wow.
It was very short.
It was short and deep, and it was short and deep. That's mostly what I can say.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us about your upcoming works? I think you have 2 books coming up soon. So you have 2 books out already. Yes, my bad. So can you just tell us more about the things and the messages that you have explored in these books? You already mentioned that one of them is a love story.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us a little bit more about both books?
So it's the one of them is about a love story. You know, this whole twist of a very good girl falling in love with a hard guy that do not love her. Skip this story. I don't want to give details. Go and buy my book.
Of course.
But then the poetry chapbook, what I did was explore different aspects of my writing.
Okay.
I had the love poems. I had the ones about justice. I had the ones about disability. I had the ones about mother, and my upcoming book is about my mom because I lost her. On Monday she'll be 2 years, so I just looked for a way to pour all my emotions. I think she's an hero that needs to be known to the world, so stay tuned.
That's so lovely. Go and get those books. I'm going to get some copies for myself, of course.
Thank
now,
you.
what do you hope that readers take from your book, or from your books, from your works? What do you hope the messages you hope that they get to take home, and not just for Nigerians alone, Africa at large, for foreigners, the world at large? What message are you sending out there?
For Odyssey, I would start with that. I want to, anyone who reads it, I mentioned that she was a case study, but I want them to see me as a human being. I want them to read the prose, wrestle with the questions about the book, and come out with a deep empathy on themselves and others. Changing the narrative from pity to powerful, how your pain can change you to be someone really great in life. For the rest, I know understanding how you can love better without hurting yourself. And also the poetry chapbook is about educating you in different aspects, right? So I want everyone reading, not just limiting to young girls with disabilities, but everyone around the world. When you're reading the book, you should have a sense of, oh, I am drafting a question of how to better myself as a human. So that's generally the notion I'm trying to take out there.
Okay, that's a wonderful message to send out there. The world needs to hear more of it. Now, what role do you think literature plays in inclusivity? You know, in the world of people living with disabilities, what role do you think literature has played so far, and what do you think it still needs to do for people with disabilities?
I give you a brief example of how art has been a means of healing.
Yes, for the children.
So one, I would tell you healing.
Yeah.
The second is finding your way as an artist. We've seen persons with disabilities who have explored using art as a means of expression.
Yes.
I am one of them.
I've seen one with without limbs.
Yeah.
He paints.
He paints, yeah.
How do you do that? It's
so
incredible.
Literature in general is about solace, right? And it gives you solace when you invest your time on that.
Yes.
It's a powerful tool of advocacy because I've seen a lot of people who use that as a means of advocacy, right? Literature is a powerful means of advocacy because I can decide to read a poem to you and you just change your perception about life.
Yes.
You can decide to read a book and it will change it's a means of awareness.
It's happened to me so many times.
Yeah. So if you read it, not just because you're bored, not just because, I feel like reading a book. If you read a book in depth to learn on the book, it's a means of creating awareness for people with disabilities. So I think literature plays a very, very key role in terms of advocacy and everything. It's part of life.
Yes,
it's a way of life.
It's a way of life. Yes, literature is a way of life. That is so true. Now, what can you say to writers who um, have disabilities but do not know their way around it? Like, they feel down, they feel low, they feel like they cannot be writing. Some of them actually have ideas, they have the inspiration somehow, but they lack the zeal to push themselves to do what they need to do as writers with disabilities. What can you advise them?
To please come out of their shield. The society has not always been nice to persons with disabilities, and though it's changing, there's a lot of progress.
Yes, it
I
is.
believe.
Yes.
I believe because of the awareness we've been creating over time. It's changing, but I know that sometimes the reason why persons with disabilities go inside their shield is because they're afraid of the way the society will embrace them and their work.
Yes.
So you really have to just challenge yourself. Honestly, you have to challenge yourself. I was there as a person with disability, but then I came out of it challenging myself to see how far I can go in life. So when you don't limit yourself to what you feel people would think about what you do, what you write, the criticism, you would go far in life. So I would advise them to just go out of their shield.
Okay. All right. So before anything else, can you just tell us what your process is like as a writer? I mean, as a writer for not just books, but also your poems. What's your creative process like? How do you just sit and think, okay, this word will match with this word. Okay, I should rhyme, go with road. I'm not a good poet, but what's that creative process like for you?
I mentioned it a bit earlier, but I would come back to it.
Please
Most
do.
times is when I am feeling this extreme hurt in my heart, a dark space. That's when I get my inspiration to write. A lot of people get inspiration from maybe seeing the cars pass, being under the trees, serene environment. But for me, I think my own serenity is when I'm really hurting and I don't want to do something out of the world. So I write. And sometimes because I'm a people person, but I find time to be with myself alone. So when I'm alone, I get the whole inspiration of this needs to go with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So it's different
amazing.
for everyone.
Okay. Now, looking out there, not just for people with disabilities, but young people in general, do you think that in the literary space today, young people are actually coming out and doing the work and putting in the efforts, writing books, publishing novels? Do you think that young people are actually doing that today?
Absolutely. If I had the whole time, I would give a list of over 100 people I know on a personal route.
That's amazing.
Yes, because people have really found art. I know we've had it for a very long time, but the generation we have now understand how it is to express yourself using art.
I asked this question because, sorry to cut you, I asked this question because the word out there this young generation now, the Gen Z now, are more into social media, are more into dancing on TikTok and whatnot. So that's why I asked that question, because people need to hear this. They need to also understand that young people are actually writing books. Young people are actually putting down their thoughts together in pages. They're putting stories, African stories together in pages. They're telling their own personal stories like you have in some way in books. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, so a lot of people have where they tilt their mind to.
Yes.
But when you really look out there, young people of nowadays are using social media as a tool to actually take their words out there. When you go on archives or reels, you could see like a lot of wonderful spoken word artists just recording themselves, saying the renditions. You could see, oh, I launched a book, can you buy it on Seller, Amazon and stuff like that. So there's a lot of it happening out there. And I would say kudos to the young writers we have nowadays, because you would actually look at someone very young. I know someone who started writing when she was like 10.
Wow.
very young. But then when you read the words on those books, you'd be like, did this girl really write
Is it really
this?
a 10-year-old?
Yeah, so I would say there are a lot of young people who are creative, who are doing the work. And let's say a good percentage of them are being seen by the world out there, by social media, by the nation. But you won't have to change the entire mind of people who think young people are just there out on TikTok. But I will tell you from my own cycle, from the experience over time, from what I see from my own side, a lot of people.
So social media in itself is not even entirely a bad thing. Young people have been using it to publish not just spoken word videos. I've also seen books written and published on social media, like on Instagram, for example, an entire page. Someone is writing books, posting it as infographics now, writing poems and posting it as infographics. So you're definitely right. There are young people out there who are doing the work. Now, I just have a very short game for us to play. So I am going to give you a phrase, and you will just turn that into a little story, very short synopsis. Okay, so the phrase goes this way. She is tall but lacking in confidence.
She is tall but lacking in confidence.
Lacking in confidence.
She is tall but lacking in confidence because the people she surrounds herself are not the best people who should give her the advice. They call them toxic mentors. But when you look out there, there are mentors you can find, even not just within your cycle. So why don't you go out there, look for that mentor, and become someone who you should be proud of tomorrow. Leave the legacy you want to see your children leave.
Lovely. That's so lovely. Thank you, Shamsiyyah. From Mimi's journey in Odyssey of a Bleeding Rose to her own story, Shamsiyyah Umar reminds us that the body may be tested, but the spirit, the imagination, and the pen are limitless. This was not a story about struggle. It was about vision, voice, and the courage to speak when society would rather you stay silent. To everyone listening, to everyone watching, let this episode be a call to action, to publish more inclusive stories, to build accessible spaces, to listen more deeply to voices that dare to create against the odds. Thank you so much, Shamsiyyah, for joining us.
Thank you.
Once again, I am your host, Andrea Torhee. See you next time.